Welcome to the Couples Expert Podcast with Stuart Fensterheim, LCSW, your source for the latest tips and practical down-to-earth advice on creating emotionally connected, thriving relationships. Now, here's Stuart.
Welcome to the Couples Expert Podcast. This is Stuart Fensterheim, the Couples Expert, and this is episode number 4. Today is October 25, and it's 93 degrees here in Scottsdale. What I'm going to be talking about today has to do with something that those of us that have worked in most companies is very aware of, is each year most supervisors and employers give performance reviews to those that are working for them. There was a Wall Street Journal article that came out, I believe it was last year, that talked about whether or not every couple should do a performance review for their relationship every single year, just like what occurs in corporate America. Now, it was pretty much a tongue-in-cheek article, but I wanted to talk about what if that truly occurred, and is it a good idea? So today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about giving each other a performance review and whether it's a good idea, and if so, what components should be included in that review. And if you choose to do this, whether it would help your relationship or whether it would put a deep, dark problem on the relationship. I don't know if I'm the only one that thinks it's really weird that it's 93 in October. I never seem to get used to the fact that living back east, that in October, it really was wintertime, and living out here and knowing that Halloween is right around the corner. It'll be next week. And by the way, how many of you out there dress your animals up for Halloween? Because we do that. My wife has been busy trying to put together a pirate costume for our Labrador Retriever, Ollie, who is a therapy dog in my practice. And Ollie is pained with the fact that my wife wants to dress him up in all these different costumes. She finally decided that he's going to be a pirate this year. But anyway, Halloween really starts the holiday season, and I've been living in Arizona now for a long time and just not used to the fact that it's not cold. What Halloween also does for most of us is it begins us beginning to look toward the end of the year. And for me, today is a good example of that. I had to go to Safeway Pharmacy and get what's called healthy measures done. My healthy measures require all spouses of employees of Safeway. My wife works at Safeway in their corporate office. So I am required every year to take what's called healthy measures. And what healthy measures are is where you have to have your blood pressure taken. They take blood, they check your cholesterol, they check your glucose, they do a BMI, which is always scary for me. And basically, depending on how you do, will determine what the fee is on your medical insurance for the next year. So this is sort of a pressure time for me and my wife, and I went down there today and passed with flying colors. As I was there, I was texting my wife during the entire time the results as they came. The big one, the weight. I weighed in at about 189, which I was pretty proud of. I've been working on losing weight and exercising this year, along with my blood pressure, which is 120/70. So I felt good about that as well. So I passed, and according to my wife, might receive the golden ticket. If some of you don't know what the golden ticket is, it's actually a takeoff on a movie. And the movie is, what is the name of the movie? It's and I'm not going to remember. It may come to me in the middle of the session. And if I do, I will let you know. but I can't remember. But what it does do is what the golden ticket means, according to my wife, is that because my numbers were so good, I probably will pass and not have to take it next year. Yay! Who likes getting stuck? And today, as they were taking my blood, she couldn't get enough for the glucose, so we had to stick it 2-3 times. Not much fun. But I don't mind doing it because it's good for me, good for us, and I did it. Anyway, today's episode is episode number 4, by the way, and just a reminder that all the show notes will be on my website, which is www.thecouplesexpertscottsdale.com. And I will be releasing the show notes as each episode releases. And also, I am now planning on transcribing those, so they will probably be something on my blog as well. And please go to my website to subscribe to my podcast. The more people who can hear me, the better. I would really like to get my message out to everybody about love and togetherness. One of the things that I am really excited about is that this year a lot is happening. I'm going to be releasing a new website, and my website will be at the same address, but it will be a brand new look, and that should be happening in mid-November. I've begun podcasting, and there's so many opportunities this year and this coming year that I'm just so excited about being able to just really talk about the issues that are so important to me and to the couples that are in my practice and to people all around the world and all around the state of Arizona about having those close connected relationships that we all want. Through my energy and through the time that I'm taking to sort of put all of this together, I've had the fortune to meet so many exciting, dynamic people that are helping me. It really has me feeling so positive about the profession that I've chosen and the ability to help those out there, and particularly to talk much more about the therapeutic model that I use in my practice, which is called emotionally focused therapy. I'm actually going to be doing an entire podcast on that, and I probably will do that at our next podcast. What's so exciting about this emotionally focused therapy is it really has the ability to transform relationships. And one of the things about that, transforming relationships, is it has all of us having the ability to be incredibly proud of your relationship and what you have created between you and your partner. Every couple is different, and whether they can handle this or not handle this will be up to you. But I'm going to take the approach that this is something that should be done very seriously. And then toward the end of my podcast, I will conclude with letting you know whether or not I think it's a good idea. So that's what we're going to do today. So let's start out talking about, before we get into it, whether or not performance reviews could bring people together or whether or not they would destroy the fabric of what it's built on. Probably my worst experience with performance reviews was when I worked as a family counselor for Cigna Behavioral Health. Cigna, in their infinite wisdom, made the decision that the therapists in the office would rate each other. And then it would be done anonymously so that you had no idea who said what about you. It was the worst decision that they ever made, in my opinion. And my supervisor, who tried her best, and it's a good friend of mine that I continue to have positive feelings about, tried really hard to make it productive. But I could see whenever we sat down to do this on her face that she knew this was such a bad idea, but she had no choice. So two people or a group of people who were working together to make a difference for the clients had to let each other know whether or not they were doing a good job. I just can't fathom what the thoughts that went into this. How could you feel like you're working as a team together if you also had a say, and that based on the evaluations that were given to you, determined the raise that you got? I think we need to think about this and ask ourselves, when we do this with each other, particularly in a relationship, whether or not the state of the marriage, the state of the union, is something that anyone should be evaluating, particularly if you're trying to work and accomplish a goal together. So using this analogy, I think that we need to really be careful if we have this end of the year evaluation, that we do it and make it productive so that people can learn about this. One of my thoughts is it would be great if you did this every year, and it had to be done at an incredibly expensive restaurant where you had to get dressed up to the nines, such as Fleming's or a steakhouse that will cost you a fortune, so that when you're out and about to do this, that you had to do this in such a way that both of you would have a good time while you were talking, and really talk more about the accomplishments that each other has made through over the year. And really, we need to take a look at some of the areas that need to be covered. So, such as, should we cover the area of timeliness? Whether or not your spouse or partner could be ready when they said they would be. If I promise my wife that I'll be ready to go at 5 p.m., am I truly ready to go at 5 p.m.? Or is there always one more thing that comes up? This is a really bad one for me, because quite often I get distracted by things that I'm working on, so that my feeling is, okay, I could be ready, but you know what? I only have this one thing to do. And quite often I would turn to my wife and say, you don't mind if I keep doing this for a minute, do you? And she very graciously, for the most part, says, no problem. But how much of a problem is it truly? Guys, perhaps we're going to be also rated on whether or not we put the toilet seat down. I would fail that terribly. And living in a home with all girls, I don't just fail it once, I fail it twice and 3 times. And my daughter the other day came to visit and said, Dad, why are you using our bathroom? And I said, I don't believe I was in there. And she said, the toilet seat's up. And I was stuck, because obviously I was. How about household responsibilities? Do we as men do our fair share? Or are our wives doing more work around the house? Is it truly a team effort? Or is it really we just expect our wives to do all the grunge work while we work outside or work in our garage and do those things? And have we ever talked about that? So how do we do with our household responsibilities in terms of the share work? One of the things that I absolutely would like to see on this evaluation is a sweat quotient for me and my wife. And what I mean by that is my wife has this uncanny ability to not sweat no matter how hot it is. I think I may have seen her sweat once or twice. And I think the only time that really I've seen that was when we were in Mexico and it was so blaring hot. I looked over to her and I go, oh my God, I see beads of sweat. I literally took a picture of it and texted the picture to her sister, because her sister is the one that shared with me initially that Debbie does not sweat. So I think that we should also have that. I also think that maybe one of the evaluations should be on the intensity of sexual climaxing, and that we should evaluate each other on that. What do you think, guys and ladies? Do you think we should evaluate that? Are you someone that when you climax, you really let the neighbors know about it? Or are you someone that just it sort of happens just a little bit? And what is the enjoyment quotient of your sexual relationship? Which would also go along with whether or not that you have how much affection is going on in the home. Are you and your partner affectionate? Are you doing date nights? Are you cuddling enough? There are lots and lots of areas that need to be reviewed, ladies and gentlemen. So we need to make sure we do that. How about cooking habits? Who does most of the cooking? Are we going to evaluate whether or not, again, speaking of as a team player, are you someone that does your share of the cooking in the home, or do you leave it all to your wife? If your wife does most of the cooking, are you doing the grocery shopping? How much of the household vacuuming and things like that, men, are you doing? So, ladies, are you filling up the cars enough? Are you working on the cars? Are the two of you doing things together, or are you mostly doing things separately? I think that this evaluation is absolutely essential if you're going to have a relationship that will pass the end of the year evaluation test. How about meatball production? Yes, I said meatball production. I love meatballs. I think that we should count the number of meatballs that my wife makes throughout the year and decide whether or not at her year-end review it's enough, and whether or not she makes the meatballs in the way that I want her to. And if not, she should get a blaring negative comment. Oh, by the way, one of the things I think is that whoever has the best evaluation should get something special, and that the person that is scored the highest should be able to then be the one that doesn't have to do any household work. I like that idea. And that there should be some benefits for getting a A++ score on love, romance. Oh, we haven't talked about romance, have we? I think one of the evaluations have to be who has gotten the better gifts to each other spontaneously. Whether or not the kinds of romantic gifts that I receive from my wife, are they as good and as significant as my wife's gifts to me? I have to tell you, I would fail this test. My wife is so incredibly good about this. She knows my tastes, she knows what I like, and she goes out and about and shops for the things that I love to have, and she will surprise me with them periodically. What do? I go online, I order flowers, and I have them delivered to her work and sometimes to her home, and she has every right to complain, and I would fail miserably this section of the efforts that go into the romantic gifts, because I can sit at my computer and do it all. She goes into the stores, she does the legwork, and it tells me just how important I am to her. I really am working much harder in 2014. And in 2015, guys and ladies, I better improve significantly or I'm in serious trouble. So, what other things do we need to look at? I think one of the most important facets of this has to be that it's done with equal evaluation. We shouldn't just leave it up to one or the other to come up with the criteria. I think that there should be a structured thing, just like we have at work, where we have perhaps 5 to 10 questions that we are going to address with each other. And that based on the responses of each of those questions, we'll determine whether or not we should pass, get an A, B, C, or F. I don't think there should be a D. D is basically an F when it comes to a relationship, I think. So that you basically are scored A, B, and C, determining how many of these questions that you pass. Just for your information, for those that would like to sort of really take this on, I will have in my show notes a copy of this that you can get by going to my website. And just to repeat, it's www.thecouplesexpertscottsdale.com. So if you want these questions, just go online, go to my website, and they'll be there for you to download. So if we're going to look at this relationship and make sure that it passes the test, what are some of the things that we truly want to answer? So what would be some of the questions? I think the first question, and almost one of the most important questions, is do you feel valued by your partner? Does your partner help you become a better person? Or by being in this relationship, do you feel diminished by your partner and therefore feel like your life is not very positive and you don't feel like that connection that you have with your partner brings out the best in you? I believe that every significant relationship, and if a relationship is truly has you feeling close and connected, you should feel so incredibly good about yourself. Not as a partner, not as a husband, not as a boyfriend, not as a girlfriend, but it should have you feeling so good about you, that you are the best that you can be. You're better at work, you're better socially, you're better financially, in all ways. Because of that connection that you have with your partner, you're a better person. The second thing is, do you talk about things that matter to the two of you? Do you discuss the future? Or is it more about one or the other? Is there selfishness in what gets communicated about and talked about? And the other part of that is, do you feel like the two of you are making goals together, both financial goals, playful goals, social goals, goals as a couple, goals for your future? Are you talking about retirement? And are you having conversations that suggest that this is the relationship that you will be in for the rest of your life? So that's number 2. Number 3, how would you rate the quality of the time that you spend together? Is it selfish? Again, is this something that only one of you sort of gets what you want? Or is the quality of the time that you spend together where both of you walk away from the interactions saying, man, that was just the most fun. I can't wait to do it again. If that's not the case, you need to figure out why that's happening. And you need to let your partner know as much as you can that you're experiencing it that way, and begin to talk about how to make that different. All right, number 4, how would you describe the amount of time that you have together, emotionally, physically, and sexually? How do you connect? And again, what I'm saying is that you have to describe for each other the amount of time that you have together and whether or not there's enough time to really accomplish the things you want to accomplish to get your emotional needs met, your physical needs met. And by physical needs, I think we're talking exercise, we're talking going for walks together. And also, is there enough time to sexually connect, or are the two of you so exhausted that neither one of you can really get the energy up for it? And if it's only one of you that has the energy and the other is not really available, are you willing to do something about it? And do you talk about those things? Does your time together really reflect how important you are to each other and that this relationship is important to both of you? And if that's not the case, you need to really take a look at what kind of score you're going to give your partner. That's for sure. All right, next one is, do you feel like a team when you're making the financial decisions or the parenting decisions? and all the other important decisions in your life? Do you feel like you have someone that you can count on and lean on in all those areas? And is this something that it's a mutual decision making? Or how often, for example, do you walk away from an interaction and say, we have to just agree to disagree because we'll never, ever, ever be able to come together on this? If that's the case, ladies and gentlemen, then you need to really address those issues and what's getting in the way from that. It implies lots of triggers are happening. And if you're important to your partner, then you absolutely need to be able to talk about those things and that it's not going so well. You need to I want during this evaluation that you share with your partner what is the most positive thing about your relationship and what are some of the challenges. Here's the last question that I would recommend, and this is a big one. If you had to do it all over again, would you marry the same person, or would you choose someone else? Or are there things that you now have learned about your partner that really is contributing to some real difficult times, feeling safe and emotionally close, and feeling like your partner is really absolutely there for you? See, I think that as I'm doing this, I think it's going to be pretty obvious what my answer is going to be by the time we get through with this, which basically is that you need to be having this evaluation every minute, every hour, every day, every month of your life. This evaluation is an awful evaluation to wait till you're at the end of the year to do this assessment. You have to have a relationship that matters to you so much and that your partner matters so much that you could not let anything go like this if it's important to you. And if your partner is important to you, you need to be asking these questions all the time. And you need to want to hear the answer, not the easy answer, but the answer that really is significant and makes the difference for your partner. You're hopefully living with your best friend, that one person in the world that you know you can count on more than anyone else. And we need to find a way, and if we don't have that, to get a path, a drawbridge, whatever we need to do, so that the two of you truly are building a life together, that both of you feel so incredibly important to one another. And the exciting part about all of this for me as a helping person and someone that works with countless couples over the last 25, if not more years, is that there truly is a way to do that. And that really is the point and the intention of this podcast, is to be able to lay down in very clear, uncertain terms, how do we really establish ourselves with someone in our life? And living with another human being is not easy, guys and ladies. But we can do it. We can accomplish that so both people in the relationship feel so incredibly loved and important that you would pass this test with flying colors every single time. Because even with the challenges that are there, the two of you are working on them together. So my conclusion, as I said that I would do toward the end of my podcast, is that giving each other performance reviews is a really bad idea. Whoever came up with it, I think, doesn't deal in reality and doesn't know what reviews can do to people and how they won't feel connected as if they are evaluating each other in this way. However, what I do know is that we are always evaluating ourselves, our partners, our relationships, and want them to be the best possible relationship and one that we can absolutely feel good about and proud to bring our children and grandchildren and people involved in our lives to see how positive we are about each other and about our world. And just to highlight one aspect of this is that the most significant aspect of any kind of relationship performance review boils down to one and only one thing, in my opinion, And the biggest determining factor is whether or not that you have a connection as a couple. If you evaluate your relationship as two individuals, two separate people, you lose the ability to really be a we that I think is so important. For couples that struggle in feeling connected, and we all, I think, on one level or another, struggle with not feeling connected in our world, in our society, in more importantly, we need to have that kind of really close, connected relationship with one or two significant people in our lives. And if your partner is that person, you are so incredibly fortunate and lucky. And that is incredibly possible that together, working as a pair, working as a couple, if the two of you work diligently to have a relationship that feels close, connected, where you truly feel that you are there for each other, then you absolutely have something that not many couples truly believe that is possible, but they do. The thing to keep in mind, and I want to close with this, that a good relationship can be incredibly hard work. Being brave, bringing your needs up to your partner, and letting your partner know what's important to you. Opening yourself up to another human being takes risks, and more importantly, is about true love to your partner and being vulnerable. Allowing your partner into your world is a critical task to having an important relationship that you could feel so incredibly proud and know that you have done the work. Making your partner's happiness as important as yours shows your respect and unconditional love for your partner. This strong bond can solve many, many problems and allow you to look at what's important, which is the love that you share with one another. And by learning to appreciate the small things that your partner does, not just whether it's a toilet seat that goes down or whether it's helping your wife or husband do the cooking or the dishes, but sharing in all things, everyday little things, taking the small steps toward improving your relationship to reach the end, the goal of feeling important to your partner and knowing that you can trust them with your heart and know that they'll always be there for you. I wish you all a good night, and I'll see you next time. Take care.
Thanks for listening to today's episode with your host, Stuart Fensterheim. You're one step closer to reigniting that fiery passion with your partner. For more information and your 30-minute free phone consultation with Stuart, visit www.thecouplesexpertscottsdale.com. We'll see you next time.